Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be reviewing the Lego Mario set Piranha Plant. That's set number 71426. And we're going to look at the set in just a moment and talk about what it was like to build the set, what it was like to, as a display piece, what's the set like, and then talk about the value of the set at the MSRP, and then also what you could get it at now. What we'll do is, just for I think the things I say are probably the most important thing if you're thinking about buying this. But what we'll do to get a number grade is we'll say each of those three categories is worth 3 points for a total possible 9 points. Usually I do 2.5 and I have minifigures, and that gives a total possible of 10 points. But this set does not have minifigures with it, so we won't count that against it. Although it would have been nice if it would have come with something, but it's okay it didn't. And so today, right now, you can see the box here. It's a nice looking box. One thing that I kind of wanted to talk about was they make it an 18 plus set, and they kind of put it in a premium looking box, and I think that should weigh into what we talk about when we talk about it. And I'll explain what I mean as we go through, but it is important to remember who this was made for as we're talking about the set. All right, here's the set as it's put together. If you want to see me putting it together, I made like 6 different videos. They'll be linked in the description, just step-by-step instructions of putting it together, because I thought with it being an 18 plus set, it does put it out of the range of some children, depending on their age, who might want to do it. So I put the video directions there because it might make it a little more accessible for kids who would have a hard time following the printed directions. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about building the set and the process of building it. So first, let's look at the directions. We're just gonna thumb through them to see what they look like, because to me that's part of the display and part of the build. So first, just like a lot of the premium 18 plus sets, it does come with some stuff at the very beginning that talks about, in this case, the history of the Piranha Plant and stuff like that. So I do like having that in the books. I think that when you're paying the premium cost for some of these, it should have something like that. And then you can see where bags 1 and 2 made this. Bags 3 and 4 made it with the stem coming out, and then 5 and 6 formed the head of the Piranha Plant. 5, I believe, was like the teeth and stuff, and then 6 was that top and bottom with the red and white dots. And just going through this, you can see that the instructions are pretty easy to follow. And there's not a lot in each of them. Like you can see here, it's just 3 different blocks. Now there's multiple blocks, but there's only 3 different ones. So it's, for an 18 plus set, it's pretty easy to follow. I actually put the Lego Friends, I'm just going to keep going through some of these. I actually put the Lego Friends set together right before this. It was also an 18 plus set, and the difference was absolutely remarkable. And meaning that the Friends set was so much more complex, in my opinion, than this set. This set was much simpler than I was expecting with it being 18 plus. This isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. We'll talk about that a little more in a second, though. But I do know that it was like bag 5, I believe, was the one that I think maybe would be a little harder for kids. But to me, bags 1 through 4 and bag 6 are all on the simpler side, and I think there's things that I would imagine that kids much younger than 18 could do, but I could be wrong. If you're thinking about buying this for a kid, your kid and what they're capable of. But I did want to show some of the directions just so you could see what we were looking at there. But I didn't think the assembly was that bad at all. Was it enjoyable? At times it was. One of the problems with this set was that there was quite a bit of repetition, a lot of doing the same thing over and over again. Like you could see, and that's to be expected with some sets, but it is worth noting here. Like you can see the leaves, those were both the same, but even around the pipe, there was a lot of things that just felt the same. And then with the top and bottom of the head, it was pretty much doing the same thing twice. A couple of small differences, but very similar. And to me, I enjoy Lego sets a little more on the building side of things if there's a lot more distinct steps and stuff. Now, I may not be the only ones, so you may be different. Sorry, that's not the only point of view is what I'm going to say. So you may be different, and you may like all the repetition, but to me there was a lot of repetition in this set for what it was, And so that, to me, that takes it down a little bit on the build perspective. But it wasn't bad to build. It was easy to follow the instructions, so that gives it a little bonus, you know. And it, I enjoyed putting it together. There's just some things I would change if it were me on the building side of things. So for the building, sorry if you hear my son there, our Alexa just went off. So for the building side of things, I would give it maybe 1.5. It wasn't the most fun set to build, but it was pretty easy to build. It wasn't that complicated, especially compared to a lot of the other sets that are similar to this. I was able to put it together in one day with a couple of other sets. So like it wasn't the only thing I did that day. So to me, when I'm paying, if I were paying the full price, which is I believe what, $60 or so, if I were paying the full price for this, then I would have wanted a little bit more. It just seems like a lot of, we're not talking about value yet, but it seems like a lot of money for a relatively short build. So we'll say 1.5 points on the build, and then we'll transition to what it's like as a display piece. And this to me is where it gets most of its points. The display side of things is pretty cool. So you can pose it. You can see here that mouth will open and close. You can move the head if you want to. Oh, not like that. You can move the head, so like you can put it straight up. The leaves pose. I mean, it's just going to be cool. I haven't moved it onto our shelf yet, but it's just going to be a cool thing on the shelf. I think I'm going to let my son have it in his room eventually, and it's just going to look really cool there. There's also a play feature that I would have not known about, so I'll show you that. Let me hit this. But it has 2 coins, and then there's a slot in there. You put the coins in that slot, and then when you're ready to get the coins out, you just press this button, and it sort of drops those coins. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of unexpected. From what it's like after it's built perspective, from the little bit of play it has and the using it as a display piece, I would give it all 3 points. I just think it's really cool, and that's the reason we bought it, because and we knew it would look cool up on the shelf. So far we're at 4.5 points out of a possible 6 so far. So let's talk about the last category. That's value. What is it like from a value perspective? All right, so now we'll talk about the value of the set. And that's obviously relative. How much it depends on what you think about it. So what the value is going to be. For me, the $59.99 MSRP, the value would score very low. So like if I'd paid $60 for this, I would have been pretty disappointed. It's 540 pieces, no minifigures, and it's billed as an 18 plus premium set. But in reality, it's a pretty quick build that I think most kids, or a lot of kids above like maybe 10 or so, probably could do on their own, or at least could do with minimal adult help. So I just feel like at $60 price point, the value's not really there, unless you just really like the way it looks when you put it up on your shelf. And in that case, we were going to get it regardless. Eventually, we just hadn't done it yet. We didn't, because I didn't want to pay $60 for it. I thought it was just a little too much. So at the $60 price point, I would put the value at maybe a 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3, which would give us a total of 5.5 points out of possible 9. But to just elaborate a little on that, right now you can get this for about $48 on Amazon. I think Walmart has the same price. Walmart's where we got it, and I believe we paid about $48 for it. And at that price, it's 540 pieces. It was okay to build, and it looks really cool. I think the value is absolutely there at $48 if you can get it at that price, and it looks like it's widely available at that price now. So if you can pay $48 for this, I would score the value at a 3. I think it's absolutely worth that because it's a pretty cool set to look at. With the caveat that you can get it at that price, the value is definitely a 3, which would take us up to, let's see, 7.5 out of 9, which is not bad at all. It's a set that if you can get, like I said, for $48 or cheaper, I would absolutely recommend buying it. I would not personally buy it for $60 now that I've seen it and built it and stuff, but at $48, I think it's a pretty good price. And if you can get cheaper, even better. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and goodbye.